Yo, what is happening? My name is Afton and welcome to episode 16 of the Cyber series. Today we're going to be finishing off our auto unloader build, and then I'm going to add an automatic log chopper at the back right over here to make sure that all of the pieces are a suitable size to clear turns, and so they won't get stuck on the system. And we're going to be putting all of that in a brand new cyberpunk themed skyscraper that we're going to be putting right here. But for a lot of that, we're going to need some logic. So let's head over to the ferry. Hopefully we don't miss it. It's about to leave. I just know it. So hopefully we can make it onto the ferry before it leaves. Come on, come on, come on. Are we going to make it? Oh, yes, we've made it. All right. How much time did we actually have? 1 second. Oh my gosh. Okay, get on, Jeff. All right, let's head on over to Link's Logic and grab some neon wires and just various logic that we're gonna need for this build. Alrighty guys, we have made it to Link's Logic. Pro driving there, Jab. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves some neon wires. We're gonna need a whole lot of those. Don't mind the leaves in the building. We've got a little bit of a mold problem, I guess. Alrighty guys, we have successfully got a truckload of a bunch of logic, and since we were waiting for the ferry, we decided since we're gonna need a ton of birchwood anyways, we might as well get some from the tropics biome because birchwood does grow over here. So we just went ahead and grabbed a bunch of it. We're gonna get that all loaded onto the ferry and get it back to the base. Alrighty guys, Jab's gonna get all of that back to the base while I get some of these trees over. Jab's got a vault truck. He's gonna get that loaded up with some birchwood. Okay, so we've got a huge pile of birch wood right here that's going to supply us for honestly not that long, but probably for this episode that'll be enough. We're gonna turn our attention to over here because I want to add some lighting features to the sides of this ramp because it's a little bit dark as is. So I'm just gonna plot shift these right here, these short smooth walls. I'm just gonna go ahead and place down a lever right about there, and now I'm just gonna place in some tiny tiles in like so. And we're just gonna use these tiny tiles to place these orange neon wires against. I'm just gonna go ahead and destroy all of these blueprints because we were just using those to place the wires against. And now Jab can go ahead and unplot shift that so we can actually see what this is going to look like permanently. So Jab's just gone ahead and got that back in, and yeah, you guys can see what that's kind of gonna look like. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit hard to see, but that is definitely going to light things up, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. So we're just gonna copy that for every single top of each support. And we're gonna do that on the other side. So let's get to wiring. Alrighty guys, we got all of those orange neon wires placed into each of the tops of the supports, and yeah, I think that's gonna look really good. Obviously I can't really tell quite yet, but I think they're all gonna look pretty much like that, so I'm pretty stoked. And yeah, the ramp is looking a lot brighter. You can actually see where you're going now, so that's really nice. Now up here it's a little bit dark, but that's going to be fixed very shortly. Next we need to alter this because we have actually done a lot of designing. We decided to actually change up this little bridge segment, and that's actually why the Cyber series videos have been a little bit slow to come out recently, because we have actually been working on a lot of designs for over here. We've got some almost freaking perfect buildings for over here. I am very, very excited. We've got them pretty much fully planned, which is super exciting, but yeah, like I said, we have decided to go back on a few of the little things with this bridge right here. So we're actually going to be moving all of this segment down by 2 extra studs, just the bottom archway, and that's just going to provide us an extra little bit of space to put in a system right underneath the bridge. Alrighty guys, now that we got this little archway moved down by 2 studs, we're actually going to start replacing these skinny smooth walls with regular smooth walls to fill in the new gap that we just created. And yeah, we could just put in an extra layer of skinny smooth walls, but that's actually going to take up more data size, and I don't know the last time you guys saw the data size, but it is currently at 8, which is almost halfway. As a reminder, in the last series we had to end the series when we got to data size 19, almost 20. So yeah, we are pretty much almost halfway there. Alrighty guys, we have successfully moved down the arch by 2 studs. Next, I'm just going to fill this little gap in with some blue spruce. We're gonna do pretty much the same thing we did over here with the hexagon. So now that we've got these blue spruce walls in behind the gaps, I'm just going to plot shift one of these so I can glitch a lever right in there. That looks good. So now we can just outline this gap right here with cyan neon wires. Alrighty guys, we got both sides in. That lights up this top section pretty well, so yeah, that's looking pretty awesome. Next, we are going to work on this underside part, so let's go ahead and grab some skinny smooth walls right here. Let's place them right up here. These are just the skinny smooth walls that we had left over. Looks like that one's not gonna fit. We're gonna need short smooth walls and short smooth stubs. And yeah, we're just gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm gonna place a smooth wall for studs from that. And like I said, we're going to be putting a little auto loader in this little section right here. So I'm going to build kind of like a bin up here to hold a little bit of wood so it can be auto loaded. So I'm just going to be thickening up the sides and stuff to make it into a proper bin. It's going to be a really small bin, but that's what we can afford with the space requirements. And now we're going to be putting in some hatches, some for decoration and some that will actually be functional. Let's start off with the functional ones. And we're going to be placing those right about here, except I want them to be a tile upwards. And that way we can round out these corners without any Z fighting. So I'm going to place down some tiles that we can place these hatches against. And yeah, now we just need to place them like so. And now I'm just going to plot shift some of these hatches out of the way, just the ones in the corners, so that I can place some wedges and round out some of those corners. So I've got those plot shifted out of the way. Now I'm just gonna take a 2/2 wedge. For some reason it's not popping up. I can't really see where I'm placing them, but looks like I got that in the right orientation. We're just going to be placing those like so, just to round out those corners right here. So yeah guys, that's what this is going to look like. That looks pretty cool. You'll essentially just place your truck around about here, and then the wood will fall into your truck and hopefully not splash and get everywhere. We'll see, because that is pretty high up, but I don't know how else we could make it look good, so we're just going to prioritize the looks over functionality a little bit there. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal, but we'll have to wait and see. Alrighty guys, next step is to put in some decorational hatches. So these hatches won't actually open at all, and that is the wrong way. We want those to be upside down like so, and we're just going to be using the texture that they have, because that diamond plated metal is pretty awesome. Not gonna lie, we should be using this way more in our builds, because diamond plated metal definitely fits the cyber theme. But yeah, we're just gonna be putting this all the way along, and it turns out that that is actually not going to work seamlessly. We actually have to plot shift the sides in order to place this one stud over on both sides, so we can actually fit 4 hatches instead of just 3. And just like that, we got all of the hatches in place. And now I'm going to do a truss pattern with 2/4x1 wedges. So let's get a bunch of those placed down real quick. And remember, this is just plot shifted, so that's going to be visible. We're just going to place this in by 1, so that's all got to be seamless. Once those are back in place, might actually place that like that. And now I'm just going to zigzag back and forth until we get to the other side. And just like that, we got all of those in. So now we have a lovely little truss pattern. Now I've plot shifted some of these conveyors out of the way, so it'll be a little bit easier to tell what is going on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place in this funnel conveyor, and you guys can see it's a little bit far from the bin over here with the hatches, and that's actually because I want to put in a 1/4 wedge right here, making sure that's on top of that right there, so wood doesn't get stuck on that lip right there. As you guys can see, if you place it directly against that, wood is just gonna get stuck right there, which we do not want. We want wood to be right here. That's also going to give us a little bit of extra space, so wood can be sitting on this spot right here if everything else is full. And so yeah, that's going to give us a little bit of extra space for the auto loader. Ideally, we would have a bit of a bigger bin, but like I said, we don't have a lot of space in this bridge for that. We want it to still look like a bridge. We don't want this to be even lower than it already is. But yeah, these are going to be filled in with ice wood, so let's go grab some ice wood. Luckily, Jab has some ice wood on his base, so he grabbed me some. Let's just take this on up over here and fill in these wedges right here. I'm just gonna put in some walls on the sides so that wood, when it falls down this little ramp, it doesn't get stuck on the sides right over here, because that would be kind of tragic. We wouldn't be able to get that wood without a lot of hassle, so I'm just gonna put in some walls to kind of prevent that. Alrighty guys, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a test run. As you guys can see, the wood is just falling right there. It does get stuck on those hatches, which is a little bit not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the friction to be so high on those hatches, but it does make complete sense. But yeah, hopefully that stuff shouldn't get stuck. It looks like it is getting item locked. That could be just because it's so far away. We might need an item unlocker here as well. I think this is all stuff that we're gonna have to deal with later, because we don't even need to be working on this until we have an auto chopper system and everything set up. But yeah, this is just average Lumber Tycoon 2. If we just tap some of these, that should fix the issue, but it does look like stuff still gets kind of stuck. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure out some solutions to this. Probably install an item unlocker, but yeah, we're not gonna get to that for a while. We're just going to leave that for now. I'm going to go ahead and reload so we can see what is actually happening, because so many things are plot shifted at this point that I just need to reload. But yeah, let's just go ahead and load back in. Alrighty guys, everything is unplot shifted now, so you guys can see what this is actually gonna look like. It's looking pretty good. Let's actually turn our attention to over here, where I'm going to start building the entrance to our brand new building that we're about to start on building. But yeah, we're gonna have an entrance to the building under the bridge, and of course above the bridge where the sawmill system is going to be. I'm just gonna go ahead and build a ramp right here, because we're gonna need some truck access into the inside of this building. So I'm just going to round out the corners of this entrance right here, and I actually want to add a tab in the center just for a little light or something. So I'm going to place in a post right here and then round that out. And yeah guys, that is looking sick. It looks kind of like a garage door or something. I'm really liking the look of that. But yeah, we still need to do some work on this bridge before we start building that building. To make the bridge look a little bit more interesting, I think I'm gonna add some blue spruce supports on both sides. And now 5 studs away from this wall right here, making sure it's sticking out by 1 stud, I'm going to place a short smooth wall right there. I'm going to stack that 2 high, and then I'm going to place down skinny smooth walls on both sides, going all the way up to right here. I'm going to place down 3 posts, 1 right here, 1 right here, and finally 1 on top like so. And then I'm gonna place a short smooth wall right there, and finally place down a 1/4 wedge right on top right here. As you guys can see, that is the support, although we are going to add a truss pattern right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place down some 1/2x2 wedges. And we're basically just gonna do stripes, kind of like what we did over here. We're gonna go up to about there, and then we're gonna cap it off by placing one final one upside down at the top. So there's gonna be a bit of an extra gap right here. And yeah, that is pretty much the support. We're going to do that for all 4 sides now. Alrighty guys, now that we got those bridge supports in, those are actually making the bridge look a lot less barren, so I'm glad that we put those in. Next, I want to add some little storage containers underneath this bridge. We're going to have them hanging from the bottom of the ramp, so for this we're going to have to plot shift some things out of the way. So let me get some of these tilted conveyors out of the way, and then I think also these 1/4 wedges as well. And we've actually just bought a bunch of conveyor supports. It's gonna be 8 per shelf, so we've actually got 16 conveyor supports. So I'm gonna place down 4 right here against this. What? Okay, so those have attached to a conveyor. I think we might actually have to place in this other conveyor support before we place in the other one. I can't really tell what's going on. Yeah, okay. Let's place this in now, and that's actually going to work. That's very strange. It's attaching to the tilted conveyor in a very strange way. Conveyor supports automatically adjust to the tilt of tilted conveyors, so I think that's what happened there, but it was very buggy because these are actually upside down conveyors. So, but anyways, we've got 3 placed down. We're gonna go down by 4, and then we're actually not gonna really need one right there, so I'm just going to place in a smooth wall, and now I'm just gonna place another 4 right below that, and just like that we got all of those placed in, and those are just going to support this little cab. I don't really know what to call it. It'll kind of be like a gondola. So now that we have those supports in, I'm just gonna go ahead and place down a large floor right on the bottom, and this is going to be centered. We'll see if I can get that placed properly. Place that right there. That looks just about centered. Yep, that is perfect. Now I'm gonna place down a skinny smooth wall right on the side right there. And now on both sides, I'm just gonna go ahead and place down some upside down 1/1 wedges. And now I'm going to place some posts right on top on the back. Now for the next step, I'm going to have to plot shift these top conveyor supports out of the way so I can place in a short smooth wall on both sides. And then I'm going to place down some tiny floors. And I'm just going to round out these corners right here and right here. And then up top also has to be rounded out a little bit. And now I think I'm going to extend this out by 1 stud and place down a post right here. And right here, let's go ahead and place in some 1/4 wedges on top of those posts. And now I'm just gonna place down some 1/3 wedges on the front. I need to place this right inside of these conveyor supports, so I'm gonna have to plot shift those out of the way as well. And let's just go ahead and bridge the gap right here. And now the fun part, filling in all of these with tiny floors. This is eating up data size, I just know it. And now one final touch is just to smoothen out this little transition right here by placing in a 1/1 wedge right there. And now Jab's gonna get everything unplot shifted. So now we need a roof right here, so I'm actually gonna be doing that with corrugated walls. So let's place in some corrugated walls right here, and this is gonna kind of look like sheet metal, almost like a corrugated garage door kind of thing. We're gonna extend that by 4 more studs, and then add a post right here, and some tiny floors. And then to finish everything off, we're gonna place down some 1/2 wedges on both sides. And yeah guys, that can fit a little bit of blue spruce. Obviously it's not a ton of storage, but it's just a way to use up this space a little bit. One extra little thing that I wanted to add right here is some cyan neon wires. So we're actually gonna need to get these conveyor supports out of the way, and then I'm gonna get this large floor out of the way as well, just so that I can place a lever in there. And just to make sure that things don't Z-fight, I'm gonna have to place that against a tile. So yeah, something like that. That looks good. Let's go ahead and turn that on. So now I've got a lever on both sides. Now I can just go ahead and place it down some neon wires going from that side over to the other side. And we've got a little strip of cyan neon wire going along the bottom. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm gonna place down a lever, and I'm gonna actually place that against a tiny tile just to make sure that nothing is Z-fighting, because that might clip through to the other side right there. And now let me get a cyan neon wire and place it going from here over to here, so it's only just going to be the top and the bottom that's going to be cyan. We don't want to go all the way around, otherwise I think we'll have too many segments and it'll be way too bright. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that on the other side, and I think with that, this gondola will actually be completed. I have so many things plot shifted, you can't really tell what is going on, but it will look really nice once everything is back in place. But yeah, anyways, let's just start building another one because we have another space right here for another one. The idea is that these gondolas are going along the tracks underneath, and they're carrying wood. I don't know exactly where to, but we need wood storage, alright? It's cyber, it's all explained with science, right? Right, Jab? It looks cool. Okay, yeah, exactly. Looks cool. Alright, anyways, let's go ahead and start placing down some more. Oh, yeah. Alright, anyways, we're just gonna start placing down some more. And with that, we have successfully built 2 gondolas that will help store all of our wood. But we do have one other thing that I want to add, which is kind of like a little forklift loading wood into the gondolas, which I think is going to be super awesome. What do you have to say, Jab? What is that? Are those gondolas? Why do they look like a train? Are those train cars? To build this forklift type thing, we're going to have to take a trip over to Fancy Furnishings. So let's get there before the sun goes down, because it is going down. Oh, Jab, you finally found out how to do a proper gondola emoji. That's more like it. The other one looked like a train. I think it was a train. Alright, so over here we're gonna need to buy a bunch of wall lights because these are gonna be the wheels for this forklift. Alrighty guys, that is going to be 10 wall lights. So let's get these back to the base. Why does bro have a firework? Jab? Okay. Jab just has a firework that he's trying to sneak onto the car. Big red box. Yeah, okay. Not an improvised explosive at all. It's just a big red box. Gotcha. So the first step to build this forklift is to place down a large tile. I think we're going to build this forklift about right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start placing down these wall lights facing outwards. So I've got 5 over there, and now I'm going to do 5 on this side as well. And now we have some wheels for this forklift. As you guys can see, it kind of looks like the wheels of like a tractor or something. Let's just go ahead and start destroying these large tiles. And yeah, those are going to be the wheels for this forklift. Now I'm just going to place down this tiny floor to just kind of keep my place because it's going to be a little bit hard to tell where everything is. But now I'm going to plot shift all of these wall lights out of the way. Jab, what did you do? Average Jab driving moment. You needed a better way up. Jab, was it really necessary to damage your car? Think about the insurance rates, bro. You do realize we have an elevator. You don't need to crash your car to get up. Alrighty guys, next I'm going to place down 1 floor and then 3 tiles. And that's going to get me the right height to place these countertops. And I'm going to place 2 of those in a row, destroy all of these. And now I'm going to place thin countertops against the side of each of those. I might actually need to place down a large tile on the bottom so I can actually get that placed in correctly. So we're gonna add some sides to this, and I'm just gonna fill in these countertops with birchwood. Now with those filled in, I'm going to get those plot shifted as well. And then this time we're just going to build exactly 2 studs above the ground. Okay guys, so I think this is the shape that I'm going to go with. I'm just gonna fill in all of these with birchwood. So with that filled in, you guys can kind of see the shape that this is going to be. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now. So now that I've got this side in, I'm just going to start working on this back section right here. So for this, I'm going to just get some of these things plot shifted out of the way. So I've got those wedges on the back plot shifted. Now I'm going to place in some 1/1 by 1 wedges on the back side. And I'm going to place a post right here. And for the top one, I'm actually going to do a 1/1 wedge right here. And then I'm going to basically do the exact same thing that we did on this top layer, but with a blue spruce layer. Now I'm going to get the 1/1 wedges out of the way, and now I'm going to place in some 1/4s right here at the back to kind of make this slant downwards. Finally, I'm going to get those plot shifted out of the way so I can place a 1/2 wedge in the back. Now we're going to need 4 pressure plates, and here in a second we're going to need a ton of buttons as well, so I'm just going to stock up on those. And while I was doing that, Jab's gone ahead and got the back pieces unplot shifted. So now we need to put in a chair, so I'm going to place down 3 tiles. This is going to be the perfect amount of tiles to make sure that the chair is just slightly above the pressure plates that we're about to place in. So let's place down our chair right about here, I think. And now we can destroy those small tiles. So now we have a chair. I'm just going to get that plot shifted out of the way because that is going to get in the way. So now Jab's going to get the side countertops unplot shifted, and you can see that there's a lot of Z fighting right here. So to fix that, we're going to use some pressure plates. We're going to place those upside down right about here. As you guys can see, that covers up all of the Z fighting. Alrighty guys, after some plot shifting, I finally made it so I can actually get that pressure plate in place. That took a while, but now I'm just going to stack a couple more pressure plates on that back pressure plate like so, and in theory that chair should be perfectly placed in there. Jab, why are you sitting on the roof? Yeah, that's not where the chair is. I think the game doesn't know how to react to this because the chair doesn't exist on my screen, so I assume on his screen he's actually sitting in the chair. But on my screen, all the game knows is that he's sitting. Alright, Jab's gone ahead and got the chair back in place. So this is how you're going to be sitting in the forklift. Alrighty guys, now I'm going to place in some 1/2x1 wedges to round out the back side right here. Just like that. Alrighty guys, now it's time to actually convert this strange vehicle into an actual forklift. So let's go ahead and place in some levers. I'm going to place in one right there, and these are going to have to be off actually in order to place them in properly. Okay, so we got 2 in right there, and I'm just going to place in another layer at the bottom just like that. Turn those both on, and there we go. We got a little bit of an attachment point to put in a forklift system right here. Before I do that, I'm gonna place in some wedges just to kind of hold this up a little bit better. Something like that should do. And now I'm going to plot shift these levers out of the way. So I'm going to put in a button right about here. And then in order to conceal the fact that it's a button, we're going to place another one right against it. But I think we're going to have to actually plot shift that to get that to be all seamless. So we'll do that in a little bit. Alrighty guys, I've put in 5 buttons, which is about how tall this is going to be. But you can see that there is an issue with the outputs. You can see that it looks a little bit weird. It doesn't really look like a guide rail for a forklift. So we want to make this all seamless and remove these little gaps in between. So in order to do that, we're actually going to have to plot shift these inside of each other so they're slightly down so they cover up the outputs. So to do that, we need to place a tile right against the side right there. As you guys can see, that's perfectly seamless. So if we plot shift this bottom button out of the way and then take that exact level that we had with the tiles and then place another button right against that level, that's actually going to make it perfectly seamless. So I'm going to just keep doing that for all of these, each time trying to get my tile to perfectly align with this top bit right here. So it's in line with the top of the button, but not in line with the top of the output. Slowly but surely, we are making our way up and making this seamless. And with that done, you guys can see that the gaps between each of the buttons is gone, so that is awesome. I've also reloaded so you guys can now see the wheels, so that is also looking pretty cool. Hey guys, it's Editing Apton here. So I spent like an hour trying to get this forklift rail idea to work, so I'm just going to summarize what happened because I made a lot of revisions. Basically, I tried putting tiles on the backs of each of the buttons, and then placing a tile against each of those tiles inside of the buttons after plot shifting the buttons out of the way, and then I could place buttons facing the other way against those tiles, and that would hide the button part inside. But I struggled so bad to keep track of what was going on that this was the result. So that was not at all what I was going for, but it did show me that one tile out did make the rails look too thick. If I did no tile, it would Z-fi like this, so I decided to completely redo this. Now, if you guys didn't know, the thinner sections of corrugated walls are actually one tile thinner than the thicker part, but since the thinner part is centered, each side is actually inset by half a tile, not a tile. So if you place tiles against the thinner part of a corrugated wall, it allows you to place things in half a tile increments. So using this, I was actually able to place the buttons further inwards. And now we basically just have to do the same thing we did with the other layer, where we place down a tiny tile and then plot shift these buttons out of the way, and then place more buttons on top of those tiny tiles to make it all seamless and remove that gap. Alrighty guys, I think I have successfully done that. I had to have Jab screen share so I can actually tell what is happening, because that was really hard to keep track of everything. So yeah, that should all be looking beautiful. Let's just reload our slot to get everything unplot shifted real fast, and cross our fingers that that is going to look awesome. Alright, that is good. That doesn't look right. Why doesn't that look right? Okay, so for some reason the position has reset on these guys or something somehow. I don't know. But I'm gonna try redoing that one more time. I swear, this is getting annoying at this point. Alright, that should do it. Let's reload finally and see if this actually works this time. Alright, cross our fingers. Did that all work? Yes, it has finally worked perfectly. That looks so sick. I think it was all worth it, maybe. Yay, we did it. So now it is time to actually put in some forks. So for that, I'm going to go grab myself a hatch, and I'm actually just going to place it right up here. Looks about right. So this goes up and down against the rails in concept, of course. And now I'm going to go ahead and place down a couple of tiles right here. Maybe they should go up a little bit. And now let's just take some neon wires and build some forks. So these forks are just going to be made out of neon wires. I'm going to place one right there, and now I just need to make the other one the exact same length just to make everything look perfect. There we go. That should do it. Alright, now we can go ahead and destroy these tiles right here. And now we have some forks on this forklift, so that is awesome. That's looking pretty good. It's a little bit hard to see because we've got some structures in the way, but yeah, that's just gonna be loading wood into this gondola right here. So we've got some koa wood that we can actually load on here. Jab's got a 1x1 unit of blue spruce, I guess. Oh, that fell off immediately. So yeah, we could put some wood on this forklift. Jab, why did you knock my wood off? Alrighty guys, there we go. We've got some wood on the forklift. That looks pretty sick. Alrighty guys, now it is time to make this look actually cyber by putting in some neon wires. So I'm gonna get some levers placed down. I'm gonna plot shift that one in here, so we're gonna have two levers inside of each other. So yeah, that's what that's gonna look like. There is a bit of Z fighting, but that'll be covered up with a neon wire. Let's get that placed in right now. So this is gonna be an orange neon wire right here. Let's just cover up that Z fighting, and we're just going to wrap this around. So this is kind of gonna be like a little construction light that you see on most construction vehicles. And since we have some levers right here that are giving outputs, I'm actually going to plot shift some of these things out of the way and run some electrical throughout this so we can put in some more lights on the sides. So I've got an output right here, and I'm gonna put another one right about here. And that's just gonna allow me to place some cyans on the side. I'm just gonna do a couple of little arrows. Now I'm gonna run a wire this way so I can add some headlights to around about the front of the vehicle. So I should be able to put in a white neon wire right there, and yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Now I'm just adding some off neons underneath these headlights just to add a little bit more contrast. So now I need to reload so I can put in the finishing touches for this vehicle. Man, this thing has been quite the task, but so far it's looking pretty awesome. Alrighty guys, I have reloaded. Now I just need to outline this window with a neon wire. This isn't going to be turned on, it's just going to be black. As you guys can see, that adds a whole lot of contrast right there, so that is really nice. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Alrighty guys, the next and final step of building this forklift is to put in a steering wheel. So let's go ahead and place in a neon wire. We're just going to place it up to about right here. That looks good. Needs to go to our hands. So we're gonna go to that hand like that, and just like that we have a there we go. Took a while there. Alright, so now we have a steering wheel, and yeah, this kind of looks like a race car's steering wheel, because we all know in the future everyone's driving around their forklifts like race cars. So now that we have the forklift completed, it is now time to move our attention to the top over here. So we're going to be putting in a sawmill system up here, as I stated in the beginning of the episode. So I think we're just going to recycle our sawmill that we already have, but we are going to need a bunch of straight conveyors and various things from Wood R Us. So let's head over there. We're also going to need a chop saw because we are going to be putting in an automatic wood chopper system. And we're also going to be using one of the most useless items in Lumber Tycoon 2, the wood sweeper. Trust me guys, we are actually going to use it for a good purpose. So let's go ahead and move our sawmill over here, and you guys are gonna see just how little space we have back here, because if you didn't know, this is actually the very edge of the base. We can't go back any further than that. So yeah, we have just about this much space to work with for this system. So we're gonna be increasing this to about 2.6 by 2.6 maybe. We want this to be really wide because we don't want really long planks, otherwise they'll get stuck, because as a reminder, we only have to this point of the base. And yeah, Jeb, I don't know, I don't think this is a parking space, honestly, Jeb. I don't think you could, yeah, you can't even drive out of this parking space. You're done for. Okay, great job. Jeb, what did you do? Okay, I'm not even gonna question it. You are distracting. Alright, let's go ahead and place down 3 straight conveyors going out of this sawmill. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. So that's about as much space as we have going this way. Now pretty soon we're gonna need a laser, so we need to go catch the ferry and grab a laser from Link's Logic. Alrighty guys, we have got over to Link's Logic. Let's go ahead and buy ourselves some lasers. And now for this one, we're actually going to extend it by 1 extra stud, so we can actually do that by just plot shifting another straight conveyor into the last straight conveyor. So if we just place one right there, that's actually going to achieve what we want. And now at this point, we are so close to the edge of the base, we need to turn. So let's go ahead and put down another large floor right underneath this large floor. I'm actually going to destroy this because that'll get in the way now. And now I'm going to get this plot shifted because we're actually going to be placing in some straight conveyors going the other way now. So next I'm going to place a large floor right underneath these straight conveyors. And I'm actually going to get these plot shifted. I know, more and more plot shifting. It's just been constant this episode, but now we're going to be using this wood sweeper. So if you look, you guys can see that a wood sweeper has this little brush that goes along. It goes to about here and then collapses. And basically the way that's supposed to work is wood gets fed in from this side, and then this wood sweeper grabs it, pushes it over to the side. And yeah, in most cases, this is actually completely useless because you could just use a turn conveyor. This doesn't actually do much other than just slow down the process. But for this situation, I'm actually going to place it vertically. So it's going to be going this way. I'm just going to switch it so it goes this way. So the brush is going to be going in this direction, as you guys can see. And then I think we're going to just cut it off halfway. So basically the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to place down a wood sweeper right here. Now I think right here might actually be problematic because we have a little piece sticking out right here that could potentially get some things stuck. So I think we're actually going to have to flip this upside down. I don't think, yeah, there's nothing up here to get wood caught on. So if we just flip that upside down and switch this to go the other direction, that should fix the issue. And now one final thing that I want to do, I don't really want to rely on this very, very buggy system. The wood sweeper is pretty much the buggiest thing in the game. So I'm going to actually put in a straight conveyor. We actually want to place that below the conveyor level. So I've placed that a few tiles downwards compared to the wood sweeper, and that should be everything. So now Jab's getting that all unplot shifted, and this is the system that we have come up with. I know, it's very strange. So you might be wondering why we don't just use straight conveyors and just remove the wood sweeper altogether. And that's because I've done a lot of testing and this is actually a little bit more reliable. Sometimes wood gets stuck if you just use straight conveyors. So we're also going to have a wood sweeper to kind of push the things over. We'll see if that makes a sizable difference. I mean, I've done a lot of testing, so I think this is actually going to work pretty well. Next, I want to put in some small tiles on the sides just to keep things contained. So these are going to be filled in with ice wood as always because ice wood is low friction, so that's going to make sure that wood isn't going to get stuck on them as easily. Now I'm going to place some tiny floors on both sides because this is where we're going to put a laser to detect the wood, because as a reminder we're going to put a chop saw right here to chop wood if it's too long. Now I'm going to place a large tile against here just to make sure that no wood escapes. Now we're going to need a laser and laser detector. I'm going to place a laser right here, and that's going to shoot a laser over to here where we're going to have a laser detector. Now with any laser detector, you pretty much always are going to need a signal inverter. So let's go ahead and turn on this laser, and as you guys can see, this is off until the laser is tripped. And as you guys can see, that turns on. And now the final piece is a chop saw. I don't know if that's the ideal placement. We might need to plot shift that. We'll have to see. Let's go ahead and test it. Is that going to make contact? I think that'll make enough contact with the wood that it won't be too big of an issue. It just needs to cut the wood. I think it will in that position, so that is perfect. So now finally it is time to wire up this chop saw. We gotta get that roughly in the same spot. I don't know if that'll be able to make contact through that tile. Let's see, is that in the right spot? I believe so. Let's trip this laser and see. Yep, that works. All right. Ow. Alrighty guys, Jab has come over here with a large log, so we should be able to actually stress test this. Are you able to make it up there? Oh, actually you did with that giant log in your vault truck. That is impressive. Stress test. Alright. Is it gonna work? Alright, it's kind of moving slightly over. We might need to move these tiles in, but yeah, as you guys can see, that does successfully chop that in half. So yeah, I think I'm going to move these small tiles over slightly, just in by one small tile. Oh, here it comes. I didn't quite finish, but I think that should, yeah, that's gonna make it go over a lot less. So yeah, there it goes, and it has successfully made it through. It's a little bit janky, I will admit. It is a little bit janky. Alright, we've got a smaller piece, so in case something is too small to even need to be chopped, yep, that just goes right on. So yeah, that is working. Here comes another piece. This one's a little bit larger, and yeah, it does try to chop it, but it doesn't make it all the way. So yeah, guys, this system is going to turn immediately and go into an auto sorter system. But before we do that, in the next episode, we are going to be building the skyscraper right here, which is going to be super exciting. I thought we were going to have enough time to at least start on it in this episode, but we weren't able to do that in this episode. Unfortunately, that's going to have to wait until the next episode, but I think we're going to probably be able to finish it fully in next episode. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's going to be super tall, and I cannot wait. I think it's going to look sick. So yeah, guys, as a reminder, in this episode, we have put in some nice lights to keep this little section nice and lit up. We have added a little auto loader system right here, which we can't really do much with until we have the rest of the system completely built, but we have it. We also made this bridge look a little bit cooler with some neon wires and these little supports, and we added some gondolas under here with some wood storage and a little futuristic forklift carrying some wood into one of the gondolas, which is super, super awesome. I'm really happy with the way that that has turned out. It is so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay. And we've got this little system that successfully chops jab in half, and logs that are too long, just planks that won't be able to clear corners and stuff like that, so it will automatically chop them to make sure that they will be able to make corners and stuff like that for the rest of the system, which we'll build in a little bit. Now, I believe I did say in the last episode that we were gonna get this auto unloader fully functioning. I've realized that we need to hide wires going all the way over to the garage system to actually do that, which we are going to need to wait until we have countertops and maybe even a building right here to hide all of the wiring. Otherwise, we're gonna have to redo all of that wiring. So I think it might be best if we wait until we have a building to build all of the system and circuitry in. So unfortunately, that's gonna have to wait for a future episode as well. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. We've got some progress done. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but in the next episode, we're going to shoot for making the most progress we've ever made in an episode. So this was kind of a precursor to that. So I think we're pretty much ready to start on this new building. It's gonna be sick, guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode. Huge thank you to the members of the channel for making these videos possible. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next episode of the Cyber series once it's out. See ya, guys!